Meanwhile, Zimbabwe's leader, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, has arrived in Tanzania for the joint SADC and EAC summit that is expected to thrash out a peaceful resolution to the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC crisis, where the government is fighting rebels in the eastern part of the country. The president, who will join other African heads of state and government on Saturday for the joint SADC-EAC summit, was welcomed at the Julius Nyerere International Airport by the country's ambassador to Tanzania, Helen Dingani. Earlier today, foreign affairs ministers from SADC and the EAC attended a precursor meetings to the joint summit. In the following report, Tachiswe Gwaza looks at the important details going into the meeting.
It's make or break for SADC and the East African community as they hold a joint summit and high-stakes meeting. On one hand is DRC saying its territorial integrity has been violated, and on the other hand, Rwanda saying it feels threatened by militias in eastern DRC and also wants Tutsis protected. The conflict, though, is much more than just that. The SADC Extraordinary Summit and East African Community meeting held recently all could not find lasting solutions to the conflict in eastern DRC. The SADC Executive Secretary, Elias Mahosi, explained why the joint summit was then necessary.
Summit called for an immediate joint summit of SADC and East African Community, EAC, to deliberate on the way forward regarding the security situation in the DRC as proposed by the 24th Extraordinary Summit of Heads of State of the EAC.
The conflict dates back from the time of the Rwandan genocide, when an estimated 800,000 Tutsis, moderate Hutus, and Twa tribes were massacred. And there is a strong belief from Rwanda that some of the Hutu perpetrators were sheltered in DRC and continue to threaten Tutsis.
So when you go back to history, you realize that Rwanda actually backed some extremists who were coming to fight Mobutu Sese Seko in 1997. So that belief, according to Rwanda, from a military and strategic point of view, it is true. The assertion is there because there are agreements that were signed.
Over the years, pacts were signed with DRC presidents, but the M23 advances every time they feel agreements made are not being fulfilled. Recently, the M23 took over Goma, a critical city, and in the process, SADC peacekeepers, which included 14 South African troops, were killed in a battle that also included other militias.
In a conflict, there are multiple actors or a number of actors within a conflict, and each actor has a reason why they are in that conflict. Therefore, as part of the solution, we as SADC are determined to engage all actors in the conflict.
Relations between Pretoria and Kigali has since been strained. While SADC has backed DRC and condemned the killing of its peacekeeping troops, DRC, on the other hand, has even called for UN sanctions on Rwanda, claiming it invaded its territory.
Historically, it has been known that Rwanda has some elements of presence in DRC. And if you look from 2019 to 2022, if I'm not mistaken, President Tshisekedi was very close to President Kagame. So it's surprising what has changed. But I think the suspicions around this relationship, they really need to get cleared.
Going into the summit, Zimbabwe's President Mnangagwa, as chairperson of SADC, plays a crucial role at a time he has a deep understanding of this conflict dating back to 1997.
In the meantime, under the chairmanship of His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, when the problem escalated in the eastern part of the DRC, His Excellency found it fit as chairperson to call for an extraordinary SADC meeting so that we map the way forward for peace and stability.
What is